All right. What's up, guys? It's Analyst, and we're back week 4. Right before I started recording this, I got the news that this game here, the Steelers and the Titans, is being postponed. We're still having more information come in, but as of right now, it looks like they're going to play either Monday night or possibly even Tuesday. As of right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long term postpone, but yeah, it just seems like they're going to push it back a day or two, which could give the Titans more time to practice, and at the same time, it makes sure they have no one who's going to be active on game day test positive for COVID and stuff like that. Yeah, so that obviously comes following, I believe it was 8 people within the Titans organization who tested positive for the coronavirus, and I believe one more tested positive when they retested everybody. They're giving it a couple days. If we have more cases, I'd say if we have one or two more cases in the next couple days, this game is going to be pushed back even further, and these both of these teams will have a bye week. But as of right now, it seems like they've retested everybody. Only one other person tested positive. So the game will go, and we don't know who that one other person is, by the way. The first 3 people were like a long snapper, some backups and stuff like that. No Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill or anything like that. So just make sure this isn't like crucial new information. Yeah, so okay, so they're considering all options. Seems like Monday night or Tuesday night is very likely. But either way, I'm still going to talk about the game, but I'm going to save it for last. So I'll bring up the Steelers and Titans at the very, very last minute. All right. So that being said, what's the trend for week 4? So week 1, go with your studs. Week 2, don't overreact. Week 3 was notice trends. Week 4 seems like the week where you kind of start to put it all together. Like a lot of my teams, I'll be honest, a lot of my teams, I have some 0 and 3s. I have a lot of 1 and 2s. I have 1 3 and 0, and I believe I'm in like 10 leagues. I have like a couple 2 and 1s. But point being, I have a lot of 1 and 2s, and I have a decent amount of 0 and 3s. It can go down to luck. It can go down to fidgeting with your lineup too much. It could go down with, just someone not performing early on, Joe Mixon. So, yeah, but I mean, I think now is the time where you kind of look at your lineup. You say, okay, like now I understand who all my players are. I know who to play, where to play them, stuff like that. So I feel like week 4 is a great bounce back week. Even if you're 0 3, don't worry about it. It's fine. If you win half your games, if you win more than half your games, you can still make the playoffs in most leagues. So and don't worry about that. There's always a team that makes the playoff that's like 7 and 6 or whatever the 13 weeks ends up being, and they're like, how the hell did they get there? So it doesn't really matter what your record is when you get there. It just matters how good your team is in the end. So if you're 0 and 3, hang on. If you're 1 and 2, hang on. If you're 2 and 1 or 3 and 0, you're off to a great start, but you don't want to blow it either. So that being said, we're gonna get into some of these games. We're gonna start with. I almost don't want to do this game here. Because why? They couldn't find a better Thursday night matchup than Brett Ripien against Sam Darnold and the 0-3 Jets. So, god damn it. And by the way, if you guys hear my voice, I am a little stuffed up. I have a cold. Not coronavirus, pretty sure. But point being, yeah. So if I sneeze once or twice or possibly 3 times during the length of this video, I apologize. I said it, and I think I'm good, but I said it and then it like came real. Whatever. Okay, let's get into this. So the 0-3 Jets hosting the 0-3 Broncos. Gosh. So as of right now, as far as the Jets, Le'Veon Bell still out. I haven't heard anything. That's why I'm looking up now. I probably should have done this right before I started. But I haven't heard anything concrete on Jamison Crowder. So it feels like Jamison Crowder, I'm just seeing this. He feels real good for a return for Jets on Thursday Night Football. So Jamison Crowder could be in this game. coming off injury, which is great. I think he's the only Jet I will start. Yeah, I think he is because Sam Darnold can't start him. Oh. Yeah, okay. Just more Steelers, Titans stuff that I already saw and already told you guys about. But Sam Darnold can't start him. There's no Bell. This backfield has just been a crapshoot between Frank Gore, who's been getting most of the snaps and hasn't done anything with it, Kalen Ballage, who caught some passes last week, the rookie LaMichael Perrine. I thought maybe he could be something, but he hasn't really done much either. So, and they're not giving him the opportunity. So, none of these running backs I like. I don't like Darnold. I mentioned the only player I'd want to start is Crowder in PPR because I feel like Sam Darnold has been heavily targeting Braxton Berrios and Chris Hogan, and Jamison Crowder at the very least is an upgrade from that. So I feel like this could be a game with offense runs through Crowder as long as he's able to stay healthy when he's on the field. On top of that, Chris Herndon, he's had his opportunities the last couple weeks to get going. He hasn't been able to do it. So he's been a pretty big disappointment so far. So I wouldn't be able to start him. Interestingly enough, I think... Sorry, guys, I keep touching my nose. I think the Jets defense, as well as the Broncos defense, could both be decent plays this week. Because Brett Rypien is the third string quarterback? I don't even know why he's playing. Is Jeff Driscoll hurt, or is he just playing awful? But point being, these are both not great quarterbacks and not great situations. So I think in a game like that, the defenses... there's going to be sacks, there's going to be interceptions, there's going to be fumble, there's going to be sloppy football. So that's the best time to play these defenses. I'd consider both the Jets and Broncos a streamer. If I had to pick one of the two, I'm going to go with the Broncos for obvious reasons. But, yeah. So, as far as these Broncos here, I don't consider Brett Rypien a streamer. Melvin Gordon, I think Melvin Gordon can have a pretty good game. I think this is a really big game for Jerry Jeudy. He's been banged up the last couple weeks, and he's been the most consistent receiver on the team. So I think this is going to be a pretty big game for Jerry Jeudy. He's a guy I'm starting in a couple leagues this week. So we'll see how that pans out, but I'm a big fan of him. KJ Hamler hasn't been getting enough work for me to consider starting him. And Noah Fant, I think this is going to be a big game for Noah Fant as well. He's been very, very consistent. So details on a new game time. I keep getting updates. This is like the big thing right now. By the time you guys see this tomorrow, you guys will already know what's going on. But they're just saying the details is going to be out soon. And so I think Noah Fant's going to be a great play. And Broncos defense, like I said, a good play as well. So I think this is going to be a crapshoot. Am I still going to watch the game? Yeah, it's football. I'm still going to watch the game. I'm still going to make a DraftKings lineup. And hope I can make some money off this Thursday night game so it's not meaningless. So, that's how I feel about that. But let's go into this next game here. We're doing the Washington football team. 1-2, hosting the Ravens, who just lost to the Chiefs on Monday night, looking for revenge. Rest in peace, the Washington football team. No, I mean, obviously you're not starting Dwayne Haskins. I don't think anybody is. Antonio Gibson... I do like him, and I think he's on the rise. But at the same time, last week his snaps dropped from 60 or so percent to 40%. J.D. McKissick seemed to be their main guy in that backfield last week. This is going to be a horrible game script for him. If Gibson was seeing a lot of work as a receiver, then I would say he could be okay in PPR, but I'm just not going to consider him. Wide receiver-wise... Terry McLaurin, he seems like an every week start. I mean, Marlon Humphrey got wrecked by Tyreek Hill, and I think if anything, Terry McLaurin's still a very, very good receiver. Like, you have to give credit to these corners, but at the same time, you also have to give credit to these wide receivers. The fact that the Washington football team is going to be playing from behind, obviously bodes well for a guy like Terry. The fact that Dwayne Haskins sucks doesn't bode well for Terry. So I would lower expectations for Terry, but I think he's still going to end up being in my lineups. As for Logan Thomas, He's been getting consistently 8, 9, 7 targets every single week. He's caught exactly 4 of them every single week for exactly 30 or so yards every single week. So he's been showing you his floor, his weekly 7-point floor. Obviously, if he catches a touchdown, which who knows if the Washington team is even going to get that far. Okay. Now we have the official statement. The Steelers-Titans game, originally scheduled for Sunday, will be rescheduled to allow time for further daily testing, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's the same thing I just fucking said. Nothing new. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. But either way, Logan Thomas, don't want to trust him. If you're desperate in PPR, he could be okay, but just know his ceiling isn't that high. Yeah, obviously the Washington defense, I'm not starting. Ravens, revenge game. Lamar, he's going to be top 3 quarterback this week. Running backs, obviously it's a good matchup for these running backs. But, at the same time, it's just been nothing consistent here. J.K. Dobbins seems to pull away and play most of the snaps. He last week he got a lot of targets. I think he had 4 receptions, which was pretty good. Because I can't remember the last time Mark Ingram got 4 receptions in a game with the Ravens. So, Dobbins seems to be part of their passing game, but in a positive game script, they may not need that. I don't know. It's such a crapshoot. I think Ingram and Dobbins, more so Dobbins for me, might be worth a desperate start. But at the same time, I'm not going to throw Ingram in my lineup and expect him to have a good week. I think his floor is just as low as his ceiling is high. And I think his ceiling is even more capped with Dobbins on the team. So I'm not really looking forward to starting either of these 2 running backs, even in a good matchup, even with Chase Young out. So as far as wide receivers go, I think it could be another good game. I think it could be a good game for Marquise Brown. I think he's worth throwing in your lineup if he can get 1 catch. It's a great matchup for him. And I think Mark Andrews as well could have a decent bounce back game. I think the Ravens are going to want to score a lot of points early and make a statement. And if they get close to the red zone, Mark Andrews is going to be that guy. And, they could go for the big play with Marquise Brown as well. So, obviously, Ravens defense is a great start this week as well. So, yeah. I mentioned the Steelers-Titans, both 3-0. I didn't even know that. So, I'm going to postpone this, just as they are postponing this, to the last game I talked about. So we'll circle back to that. The 2-1 Buccaneers hosting the 1-2 Chargers. So Tom Brady, as a Patriots fan, I've watched him play the last couple weeks. He's just... I know he had 3 touchdowns last week. I think he still had an interception. He just hasn't looked like 2000 Tom Brady. This is not the same guy. I think he's still worth a start. This Chargers defense is pretty good, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get an interception or something like that. But so I wouldn't say he's a fantastic start, but he's definitely startable. As far as the running backs, not a great matchup for Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette, we thought Leonard Fournette was going to run away with the job, but then Ronald Jones came back and played most of the snaps last week, so it's just, this backfield's a mess. Not looking forward to starting either of these 2 guys. So what is his name? Chris Harris. Sorry. Chris Harris is hurt. So with Godwin out as well, this could be a really good game for a guy like Mike Evans. Definitely considering him. Scotty Miller's banged up. Justin Watson's there, but I'm only really interested in Evans when I'm looking at these wide receivers with Godwin out. So, I'll definitely start Evans. I think he's in for a good matchup. Gronk somehow had a decent game last week. O.J. Howard was involved. They ended up getting the tight ends a lot more involved last week. But we'll see. I don't think that's a sign of things to come. I think it's more of just situational. Let's get Gronk's feet wet a little bit and let him get on the field. Good, when they're blowing the other team out. So, I'm not looking to start Gronk. I'm not looking to start O.J. Howard or anything like that. Buccaneers defense may not be bad. They could rack up some sacks against a bad offensive line and force a rookie quarterback to make some mistakes like we saw last week. So, not against starting the Buccaneers defense. As far as the Chargers, the Buccaneers secondary hasn't been all that scary. They've definitely improved, but they're still not like top of the line or anything like that. So, Justin Herbert, I think he can still be a decent start. He had a little bit of a disappointing week last week, but who knows? I think he could do a lot better this week than he did last week, even though last week seemed like the better matchup. Austin Eckler is going to be a great start. When the Chargers were down, we saw how the game script changed. We saw Eckler be on the field for, I think, over 70% of the snaps. Joshua Kelly fumbled, and he ended up not getting as much of the work. So it's going to be a Austin Eckler show. And these notifications are nuts. Keenan Allen, great start. I think he had like 19. He literally had 19 targets. And he's been killing it with Justin Herbert. So Keenan Allen, fantastic start this week. Mike Williams, he's banged up again, big surprise, but he hasn't done much. Hunter Henry, great start as well. Not starting the Chargers defense. So yeah, that's that. This game here, the Dolphins and the Seahawks. So I really, really like this matchup for Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins. I mentioned last week the Seahawks have been just awful allowing yardage. I think this is a game where Ryan Fitzpatrick throws for over 350 yards. They're gonna have to keep throwing the ball to stay in this game. Myles Gaskin played 75% of the snaps last week, and he's getting very involved in the passing game. So starting Gaskins as a PPR RB2, starting Ryan Fitzpatrick. Devontae Parker, I think this is going to be a huge blow-up game for him. I thought last week was going to be it, but the Dolphins ended up getting up by a lot. And they ended up not needing to throw the ball as much, which is kind of unexpected. Even with DJ Chark out, I thought the Dolphins and Jaguars game was going to be a lot closer. But it wasn't. And definitely not expecting the Dolphins to blow out the Seahawks. So I think Parker is going to be very involved. He's going to have a huge game. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get over 100 yards. Preston Williams could be a sneaky play. Just sharing the wealth. I think a lot of these guys could do really well. Mike Gesicki, not a great matchup against Jamal Adams, as I've mentioned before with the Seahawks. But at the same time, he just seems to be playing in the slot, and he's heavily targeted. I think, if anything, Adams is going to stay deep and watch out for the big plays that they've been allowing. So I think Mike Gesicki is a good play, who's actually been more consistent than Mark Andrews, by the way. So don't hate on my boy Mike Gesicki. He's doing all right. He got a touchdown last week, which kind of saved your week. He got a couple more targets, couldn't come down with it, but they ended up just running out the clock at the second half. So Fitzpatrick didn't really need to throw it, but yeah. So I think Gesicki's fine. Obviously, I'm not starting the Dolphins defense. On the flip side, it's going to be another start everybody type game. Russell Wilson, I think he's like the QB1 right now. Obviously, you're starting him. Chris Carson, he's questionable for this game. I would be surprised if he played. And if he doesn't play, I think Carlos Hyde is a great play. So keep an eye out for that. We'll have to monitor if Chris Carson practices during the week. And that'll line up things for the weekend. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett just seem like every week starters at this point. Just keep plugging them in. Let them get you some points. They're letting Russ cook. It's working out for everyone. The tight ends aren't doing as well as last year. I'm not really interested in starting any of these guys. Seattle defense could be okay, but at the same time, I just think they're going to get a ton of yardage on them. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is looking like Ryan Fitzmagic again. So we'll see. Could just be the Jaguars defense, but we'll see. I think Seahawks defense might be a decent, desperate option. Okay, so we got this game, the Texans hosting the Vikings. As of right now, the Vikings have not had any positive cases, so it seems like this game is good to go. As far as the Texans, I think this is going to be a huge bounce-back game for Deshaun Watson. Huge, absolutely huge. I think Watson is going to bounce back as a top 3 quarterback. Running backs, David Johnson. We'll have to see the health of Duke Johnson, but even if Duke is in, David Johnson's been averaging 95, 96% of the snaps over the last 2 weeks. One of the, he's been on the field. He's not coming off the field, and it's a great matchup for him. So, starting David Johnson, I think this is a great matchup for Will Fuller. I think this is going to be one of those infamous Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller games, as long as Fuller stays healthy. So even last week, Fuller got a touchdown, and he did very well. The week before, he put up a goose egg. He was hurt a little bit and was shadowed really well and didn't really get the ball. But this is a great bounce back game for Will Fuller, great bounce back for Deshaun Watson. Brandon Cooks might even be worth a look in this game. Randall Cobb, I'm not too interested in, even though he did have that big game. But I think this is going to be more of a game where the Texans attack the outside more than the slot. So definitely think those are some pretty good options. Brandon Cooks, I would start him as a flex play. Who else we got? Jordan Akins, I mentioned last week if it was a trend or not. It seems like Jordan Akins broke that trend, so he's no longer someone I'm really considering. And I'm not looking to start either of these defenses. This could be like a messy shootout. More so messy from the Vikings side. But Kirk Cousins, not all that interested in. Might not be a bad game for him, though. Dalvin, obviously, great start for him. The wide receivers, Adam Thielen slipping. I mean, Justin Jefferson had that huge game last week. I don't know if I'm confident enough to throw Jefferson in my lineup, but at the same time, he did so well that it's hard for me to see him not be involved this week. And I don't think this is a situation where the Vikings are playing from ahead because, hey, look, they haven't played from ahead. So Kirk is still going to need to throw the ball. He had, something clicked with Justin Jefferson last week. Some flashbacks of Stephon Diggs went into Kirk Cousins' head. So I think Jefferson is a desperate start here. Adam Thielen, I think, is okay. I'm just kind of a little worried about Thielen. But I wasn't really a huge fan of him going into the year. Vikings defense I'm not interested in. And the tight ends haven't really done all that much, so that's fine. Let's get on to these games here. We're coming to the home stretch. We got the Lions hosting the Saints. So, Matt Stafford could be a decent game for him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a decent day, even without Devontae Adams in the game. Matt Stafford I'm okay with. Running back wise, I'm not really interested in any of these guys. Adrian Peterson played 60% of the snaps. On top of that, Kerryon Johnson got another 30, and DeAndre Swift was left with 9% of the snaps. So Swift is unstartable at this point. I don't prefer any of these Lions running back really. Wide receiver wise, Kenny Golladay I think is a fine start. Marvin Jones has just not been getting it done, even with Golladay out or injured. So Golladay is going to be even healthier for this matchup. He's a fine start for me, even against Lattimore. I'm not worried about him. Could be a decent. I think this could be a pretty good game for T.J. Hawkinson as well. So, the Packers tight ends destroyed the Saints last week, which is not something you can really say about tight ends. Darren Waller also really put a number on the Saints as well. So there might be a trend happening here with when it comes to Saints getting wrecked by tight ends. So just keep an eye on T.J. Hawkinson in this matchup. I think it could be a really good matchup for him. Not looking to start this Lions defense. And I'm not looking to start the Saints defense either. I'm sorry, they just haven't lived up to whatever they're supposed to live up to. Do I want to start Drew Brees? Not really. He hasn't played well. I think Michael Thomas is going to be back to this game, so maybe it could be a bounce-back game for Brees, but I'm not excited about throwing him in my lineup. Alvin Kamara's on a hot... he's been hot lately. I think he's the running back 1 in the entire NFL right now. Either him or Aaron Jones. I'm not sure. But Kamara obviously is going to be great play. Michael Thomas, if he's playing, I'm starting him. I'm sorry, but he's, if you drafted him in the first round, you're missing him from your team, and you need to plug him in. So if he's playing, which he's on track to do, I'm going to start Michael Thomas in this game. None of these other wide receivers. Manuel Sanders is coming off a decent game, but I'm not looking to start him. Jared Cook's been struggling a little bit, so he also has a groin injury, and he's like 38 years old. So I'm not excited about having Jared Cook in my lineup as well, or either other. So I think Jared Cook's 33. I don't know. He's in his 30s. So for football age, that's pretty old. And I don't want any part of him in this game. Cowboys hosting the Browns. How about Cedric Wilson, though? I mean, where the hell did that come from? And why wasn't that CeeDee Lamb what everybody was thinking? But either way, obviously Dak is someone you're starting. Zeke is someone you're starting. Amari Cooper has been the most consistent Cowboys wide receiver, and I think he'll continue to be that. Michael Gallup had a big game, but he seems like a more of a boomer bust option, and CeeDee Lamb's more of a desperate play. So I'm not excited about any of these wide receivers not named Amari Cooper. Dalton Schultz was a letdown last week. I wasn't a fan of starting him, but he could have a bounce back. But I'm not putting any chips in starting Dalton Schultz this week. Defense wise, I think Cowboys could actually be a decent streamer. Baker's been known to make some mistakes in big games. So as far as this side, Baker, I'm not excited about starting. I just feel like Baker, Odell, and Jarvis are just guys that I don't like. Kareem Hunt, I think this is more of a Kareem Hunt game than a Nick Chubb game. So we'll see how that plays out. I believe this is a game where the Browns are going to be playing from behind, even though they have their better record. So I think Hunt's going to be on the field more. But we'll see. I think this is a fine game for Hunt. I think I'm still starting Chubb if I have him, because he's been doing fantastic besides week 1. So I'm starting Chubb. I'm starting Hunt. Odell could be a desperate start just because if they do need to throw the ball, then Odell seems to be the number one target. Jarvis Landry at this point is just unstartable. He's just someone who's going to be sitting on my bench. And Austin Hooper has done nothing, so not interested in him. Okay, so we got the Bengals coming off a goddamn tie. What? Why? I hate ties. Can we just make them play another quarter? Do like a shootout, like a hockey shootout, like do like a field goal kicker shootout. Like have them go side to side till someone misses. I don't know. That would be really interesting actually. Like Randy Bullock against Jake Elliott, have them kick field goals until someone misses. I think that, and like make them go back 10 yards each time. I don't know. I'm just saying. Either way, it would make kickers more valuable. I'm just saying. Joe Burrow, fine start for him. Joe Mixon, after letting us down for the first 3 weeks, you see a matchup against Jacksonville, and you're like, is this the week I sit him and then he does something? What do you do if you have Joe Mixon? I would classify him as a desperate start. I wholeheartedly want to say he's going to do very, very well this game, but I just don't know if in my heart I believe that truly. Obviously, it's like the best matchup you could ask for, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, his snaps jumped up to 75% last week. He has 9 targets through 3 games, which isn't bad. So, and he's getting 18, 19, 20 touches a game. Maybe this is finally the game where he brings it all together and does something if they have a positive game script, which would be their first. I don't know. And I mean, the Eagles weren't a great matchup last week. They have a tough D-line with Fletcher Cox. So I'm okay with starting Joe Mixon this week. I think he's got huge upside for a game like this. Just know his floor is also pretty low. But I mean, his floor isn't even bad. We're talking about his floor, 8 or 9 points. Obviously, it's not 10, but at the same time, like, that's not terrible. He's not going to put up 3 or 4 or 5. At the very least, he'll put up 8, 9, 10 points. So, you know what? Screw it. I'm starting Joe Mixon this week. I'm just going to say it. I'm starting Joe Mixon this week. He's got a couple bad matchups coming up, but I'm going to start him this week. I don't really care. I'm starting Joe Mixon. I'm starting Tyler Boyd. I'm sitting A.J. Green, even in a good matchup. T. Higgins, I think, is coming up on the rise. He's going to take over as the team's primary outside wide receiver, and I say that because Tyler Boyd has been dominating in the slot. But T. Higgins on the outside, I think is going to be fantastic for this team. I picked him up in all the leagues I could. I think he's really going to be something for the rest of the year. Tight end wise, Drew Sample just hasn't really done much since that big game against the Browns where, by the way, Joe Burrow threw the ball 61 times, if we've forgotten. So, yeah, neither of these defenses I'm starting. This is going to be a sloppy shootout. Gardner Minshew, I think he can have a good bounce back game. With DJ Chark back in the lineup, who was, by the way, on Thursday night he almost played, so I think he's going to be fine for this week. Starting Minshew, James Robinson's a guy you just cannot sit right now. DJ Chark I like, as I mentioned. None of these other wide receivers, tight ends, or anyone like that. So DJ Chark, James Robinson, and Gardner Minshew are the guys I'm starting in this game, as well as Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Joe Burrow, maybe T. Higgins. I'm not really interested in AJ Green. He's going to be someone on the bench, even in a good matchup. All right. We got the Bears hosting the Colts. Nick Foles is back, baby. He threw 3 touchdowns in the second half. He started off with a bad pick, and I was like, well, this is worse. But then he ended up doing a lot better. So I think Nick Foles being quarterback helps a lot for a guy like Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller can both be weekly starts. I think Allen Robinson is going to be back to top 5 wide receiver form. Anthony Miller, he's going to be a weekly flex play, possibly. We'll have to see. I want more. It's just the Bears aren't using Miller. They're decreasing his snaps, so we'll see how that plays out. As of right now, I want to be on the cautious side with Miller, but just know like he's got pretty good weekly upside with Nick Foles, and at the same time, Tariq Cohen out for the year with the torn ACL. David Montgomery has running back 1 upside going forward. He can be more involved as a receiver. I think we're going to see his snap share go up to 78, possibly even 80%. They just really don't have anybody else in that backfield, so other than Cordell Patterson. But so I think David Montgomery from this point on could be at least a running back 2. So he's definitely startable, even in a not so great matchup. Tight end wise, Jimmy Graham has been becoming a thing lately. I don't know how I feel about it. I just don't trust it. So I'm gonna wait on Jimmy Graham. I don't want to throw him in my lineup. But if he starts to create a connection with Nick Foles and we see him have another big game, then it might be time to start considering Jimmy Graham. But as of right now, not looking forward to that. As for the flip side, Phillip Rivers, don't like him in this game. Jonathan Taylor, he's a workhorse. You got to throw him in your lineup. This could be somewhat of a Nyheim Hines game in PPR. They could be playing from behind, have to play catch up. They might have Hines on the field. So watch out for that. Not really considering starting him, but if you're in a really, deep league, like a 20 league, like if you're in my 20 league, you got Hines and you've been benching him, this might be a good time to put in your lineup. T.Y. Hilton, for the love of God. I mean, he got a call from his grandma saying he's playing like shit. And now Michael Pittman's out. Paris Campbell's been out. Like, he's got to do something, right? I don't know. I'm still not starting T.Y. Hilton. I still want to see it. I just haven't seen it at all. It could be Zach Pascal. It could be one of my favorite tight ends, by the way, Mo Alley Cox, who has taken over the tight end 1 position. So it seems right now. We'll have to see. Time will tell. I don't want to overreact over a couple games. But Mo Alley Cox, last week, he's had back-to-back weeks of 10-plus points. He's been a top 10 tight end those last 2 weeks. Jack Doyle was active for week 3, and he was out-snapped by Mo Alley Cox, and Jack Doyle didn't see a single target. So Alley Cox is creating some chemistry with Rivers here, and I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out, but I think he's definitely worth a pickup, and we'll have to see how that plays out. Either defense, I'm not excited about either of these defenses. The Colts defense has been pretty good, so they could be okay, but I'm not looking forward to either of these two. We got Teddy B and Mike Davis against the Cardinals. So, not a bad matchup for Teddy B. Mike Davis in PPR, at least, and in all formats, it seems is going to be a weekly start. He played over 70% of the snaps. The backup, Reggie Bonifant, played 4%. So it's Mike Davis's role until Christian McCaffrey comes back. He's a weekly start. I think this is going to be a bounce back game for DJ Moore. Maybe even Robbie Anderson as well. But not really considering anybody else. Curtis Samuel, he didn't really do all that much. As far as the Cardinals, I think it's going to be a huge bounce back game for Kyler Murray, as well as Kenyon Drake. So Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, I think are going to have great games. DeAndre Hopkins, as always, going to start him. And I'm not really interested in anybody else. I mean, Andy Isabella had a pretty big game. Christian Kirk, he might be out for a little bit. Larry Fitzgerald didn't really do much. So, I think, D-Hop, Drake, and Murray are the only ones I'm really starting. I will start the Cardinals defense, though. They've been pretty good, and they have a pretty good matchup as well. So, Cardinals defense I'm okay with. We got the 2-1 Rams, starting to look like the Super Bowl team we saw a couple years ago. We have Jared Goff and the Rams hosting the Giants. I think this would be a great start for Jared Goff. Darrell Henderson, I think, as well, can be a running back too this week. He's been killing it. I don't know if Cam Akers is going to be back, but Darrell Henderson is going to be the start for me. Wide receivers, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, I'm firing them both up. Tyler Higbee, he's got a good matchup, but he's been so hit or miss. So I would say it depends on their options. But I think I like Robert Woods the most out of these pass catchers. He's just been the most consistent. And the Rams defense as well. Great matchup for them. The Giants, what a crapshoot. Daniel Jones is going to have Aaron Donald breathing down his neck the whole entire game. None of these running backs. I mean, Devontae Freeman, I think his role is going to go up and up each and every week, but it's still not a time where I'm ready to start him. Wide receivers, I don't know. I just don't trust any of these pass catchers. Like Darius Slayton, I thought was going to have a great game last week. He didn't come through. Daniel Jones just did not come through. And at the same time, Evan Ingram, I thought could have a bounce back game, but he didn't come through as well. So I'm going to stay cautious with these pass catchers. I'm going to keep them on my bench. And that's that. I don't think I'm starting any Giant this week. You got the Raiders hosting the Bills. So the Raiders just got blown out by Cam Newton and the Patriots. And I think they're going to get blown out by another AFC East team here. Darren Waller disappeared last week. I think he'll come back this game, but it's not going to be a blow-up game. I think Darren Waller is good for like maybe 10 points. Hunter Renfrow, nothing. I'm not expecting anything crazy. But you know what, actually? I think Hunter Renfrow is probably I think he's in a really good spot. It was against the slot last week that the Patriots just got absolutely destroyed. So, I'd say Hunter Renfrow, sneaky play this week. If you're feeling sneaky about Hunter Renfrow. On top of that, I mentioned Darren Waller could be a little bit of a bounce back game for him. And, I'm not starting the Raiders defense. As far as the Bills, Josh Allen's been killing it. Running back wise, I don't know if Zach Moss is going to be there for this game, but Devin Singletary seems like the guy. I would start Singletary. Wide receivers, Stephon Diggs. He still did pretty good last week, even in a tough matchup against Jalen Ramsey. So in a matchup against the Raiders, I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a huge game. John Brown probably going to be out. Might be Gabriel Davis, Cole Beasley game. If you want to pick one of those two guys that could have a decent game, that's up to you. I think Gabriel Davis would be the guy I choose. And these tight ends haven't really done much. And as I mentioned, the Bills' defense is going to be great. So that's that. Chiefs against Patriots. It seemed like a tough matchup for Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, there was a tough matchup on Monday. And how'd that go? Patrick Mahomes had his best fantasy week this year, and out of any other quarterback. So Mahomes, obviously you're starting him. Clyde, he's a weekly start. Wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, great start. Even against Stephon Gilmore. You guys don't understand. Tyreek Hill shows up in tough matchups. That's just what he does. Against the Chargers, everybody said it was a tough matchup. He had a big game. Last week against Marlon Humphrey is a tough matchup. People considered sitting him. He showed up, and he's going to show up against Stephon Gilmore here as well. So I'm completely fine with starting Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce as well. As for the Patriots, I think it's a decent start for Cam Newton. The Patriots are going to come in with a good plan, so I'm not worried about them. Running back wise, James White could be back. Damian Harris could be back. Rex Burkhead's coming off a great game, but at the same time, as a Patriots fan, trying to figure out which one of these running backs is going to be the guy this week is not going to be easy, especially with James White coming back, Sony Michel, Damian Harris, all these guys. So I'm not a big fan of that. Wide receivers, I think this could be a Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry game. This is going to be a game, when the Patriots are in close matchups, Cam Newton laser focuses on Harry and Edelman. And Edelman, I think, leads all wide receivers in team air yards with 51%. So, So, Julian Edelman is going to be a start for me here, even after a tough week last week. And so is N'Keal Harry. So, I think both these guys could be pretty interesting. I'm not really looking for either of these defenses. So, that's that. 49ers, I don't know if it's going to be Nick Mullins. I don't know if it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Honestly, it doesn't really matter to me all that much. These running backs, it seems like Raheem Mostert is on track to play. Jerick McKinnon's still banged up from a rib injury, but I'm not really concerned about Jerick McKinnon's injury. So, we'll have to see. I think Mostert could be an okay start. Jerick McKinnon also an okay start. Both guys that are flex, fringe flex plays. Wide receiver wise, Brandon Ayuk is coming off a good game. Deebo Samuel, he's going to be coming off the IR, but I think they're going to bring him back slowly. I haven't seen anything about him playing. I just want to double check this. So I'm going to double check if Deebo is possibly playing this week. So it seems like they haven't officially taken him off the IR, but he's expected to return to practice Wednesday. So, but they're going to ease him back in. So I'm not expecting Deebo in this game. This could be a sneaky play for Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle expected back. So George Kittle is going to be back. That's huge for this 49ers team. The 0-2-1 Eagles. What is happening with Carson Wentz? He just can't do anything. It's tough for me to start Carson Wentz. I thought last week against the Bengals was a time where you're like, okay, maybe he can kind of get together. No, he didn't. Miles Sanders, I'm still starting. He's getting that heavy workload. None of these wide receivers. Zach Ertz, you're starting just because Dallas Goedert is out. But, it's not pretty for the Eagles right now. 49ers defense might be worth a look, even with all the pieces they have out. We got this big boy right here. We got the Packers hosting the Falcons. Big game for Aaron Rodgers. Big game for Aaron Jones. Big game for Devontae Adams, who's going to be coming back. Alan Lazard, these tight ends, If you're going to choose another Packers wide receivers, it's going to be It's going to be Alan Lazard, but I'm not entirely interested in him. As for the Falcons, it's going to be a big bounce back game for Matt Ryan. Todd Gurley, it's not going to be a great matchup for Gurley. It's not going to be positive game script at any point during the game, I believe. He's going to get swallowed up. Brian Hill looked great, which just doesn't help Gurley. So I'm sitting Gurley this week. Julio, he's going to be back this week. I'll start him. Calvin Ridley has been insane. I'll start him. Russell Gage, I haven't heard any official word, but it seems like Gage is going to be back as well. So he becomes that fringe flex play. Hayden Hurst is hit or miss. So that's how I feel about these players. Okay. And I believe... Oh, wait, nope. Going back to this game here. So I said I would come back to this game at the end. We have the Titans hosting the Steelers. Possibly, it looks like right now they're going to play Monday night or Tuesday night. the expectation is not that the game is played. I'm not expecting either of these teams to have a bye, so we'll have to see. But assuming they do play, the Titans are going to be the ones not practicing during the week. So I don't want to start Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, Derrick Henry playing, you're going to start him. I think Derrick Henry and Jonnu Smith are the only two guys that I want to start. I'll be honest. So Corey Davis has been okay. I'm not expecting A.J. Brown back in this game either. So I think Derrick Henry and Jonnu Smith are the guys I'm starting. The Steelers' defense might be sneaky this week. They've been hit or miss, but against this Titans team that hasn't been practicing, I think the Steelers could be pretty good. Seems like Deontay Johnson might miss this game. And so I think Big Ben and Juju are in for a pretty decent game. James Conner as a starter is going to be fine. Eric Ebron might be worth a desperate start just because he was the one that saw more work when Deontay Johnson was out. But I think this could be more of a Chase Claypool, James Washington type game, so I'll be looking out for that. And that's going to do it, guys. That's going to do it for my Week 4 matchup review. If you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I think once I hit about 500 subscribers, maybe I'll start doing 2 videos a week, because right now I'm doing just 1. But let me know if that's something you guys want to see. It could be waivers, it could be buy low, sell high. I could split the matchups in half and go over the Thursday and then go over the second half of the games on Saturday. So whatever you guys want to see, let me know. I'm willing to do it. And thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.